Welcome back to our journey through the instruction speeches of Proverbs. In our previous chapters, we heard Lady Wisdom calling from the heights, but today the father teacher changes his strategy. In Proverbs chapter 7, he moves from general advice to a vivid, dramatic street sermon, a realistic narrative designed to show us that everyday choices are, in fact, spiritual choices. Keep my commands and you will live. Guard my teachings as the apple of your eye. Bind them on your fingers. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Say to wisdom, you are my sister, and to insight, you are my relative. Proverbs chapter 7 verses 2-4. The chapter opens by demanding radical intimacy with wisdom, urging the reader to guard it as their most precious and vulnerable possession, the apple of the eye. Treating wisdom as a sister or relative suggests a lifelong, loyal family bond that acts as a moral guard against the smooth talk of temptation. In the biblical world, this training was the air the family breathed through oral instruction in the home. Today we are overwhelmed by digital noise and data. Proverbs chapter 7 challenges us to move beyond mere information to an internalized skill for living that resides in the heart. At the window of my house I looked out through the lattice. I saw among the simple a young man who had no sense. He was going down the street near her corner, walking along in the direction of her house at twilight. Proverbs chapter 7 verses 6-8. The father acts as a witness, observing a petayim, a naive or gullible youth who is aimlessly wandering into danger. He is spiritually brainless, lacking the discipline to stay on the straight path. The ancient street near the city gates was the center of social and legal life. Today, these streets have moved into the digital realm, social media and the internet, where we often stroll aimlessly, exposing ourselves to enticing visuals that lure us into destructive habits. Then out came a woman to meet him, dressed like a prostitute and with crafty intent. She was loud and defiant. She took hold of him and kissed him, and with a brazen face she said, Proverbs chapter 7 verse 10, verse 11 and verse 13. The forbidden woman is characterized as homia, or noisy and turbulent, and soreret, or defiant. She is a brash huntress seeking prey in the public square, using brazen behavior to bypass the young man's logic. Folly often disguises itself as living your truth or confidence. In our present culture, we are frequently met with noisy ideologies that demand our attention and celebrate the rejection of traditional moral boundaries. I have fellowship offerings at home. Today I fulfilled my vows, so I came out to meet you. I looked for you and have found you. Proverbs chapter 7 verses 14-15. Folly uses a religious veneer to hide her malice, mentioning, quote, peace offerings to suggest she is a good member of the community. She frames a random encounter as a destined meeting to stroke the youth's ego. Ancient adultery was a violation of both social and religious covenants. Today we see this in modern relativism, where individuals often hide behind a veneer of spirituality or self-care to justify choices that disregard moral foundations. I have covered my bed with colored linens from Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let's drink our fill of love till morning, for my husband is not at home. He has gone on a long journey. Proverbs chapter 7 verses 16-19. This is a trap of luxury, using rare perfumes and Egyptian linens to stimulate the imagination. The absence of the husband suggests a risk-free environment, enticing the youth to believe there will be no consequences. Modern consumerism constantly sells us the easy and painless life. Just as the vixen used luxury to lower the youth's guard, modern marketing lures us into the idolatry of the moment, promising pleasure while hiding the invisible costs. With persuasive words, she led him astray. She seduced him with her smooth talk. All at once he followed her like an ox going to the slaughter, like a deer stepping into a noose. He little knew it would cost him his life. Proverbs chapter 7, verses 21-23. The youth's reason is bypassed by animal impulse. He becomes like an ox led to slaughter, unaware of the arrow piercing through his liver. This illustrates intrinsic retribution. Evildoers destroy themselves through the evil they create. We often celebrate impulse as freedom, but Proverbs warns that a lack of discipline leads to being ensnared by vices we never learn to say no to. A life without fear of the Lord leads to a state where we don't know what makes us stumble. Now then, my sons, listen to me. Do not let your heart turn to her ways or stray into her paths. Many are the victims she has brought down. Her house is a highway to the grave, leading down to the chambers of death. Proverbs chapter 7, verses 24 to 27. The chapter ends with a sobering verdict. Folly is a mass murderer whose house is a highway to Sheol. The choice is between life, well-being and fellowship with God, and death, a realm of sin that begins long before physical burial. While ancient Israelites feared literal uprooting from their land, we still seek long-term stability. Proverbs chapter 7 reminds us that a life of integrity provides a staying power that temporary pleasures can never achieve. Proverbs chapter 7 tells us that wisdom is more than facts. It is a skill for living, rooted in the fear of the Lord. As you walk through your streets today, remember that every decision is a step on a path. Join us next time as we listen to the magnificent call of wisdom in chapter 8.